Tarbadam Tamje Kempe Bardu Chopra Jepa Tam Jekis Jepe Manankada Yampe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dham Den Tungyal Tante Nudu Lana Nepaya Dabra Sobe Janju Rinpoche Tobra Jo Nova Jepe Dry Nova Jepe Ke Tarpa Dan Tam Je Gembe Bardu Jobra Jepa Tam Je Giz Jepe Ma Nang Kadang Nyampe Senjen Tam Je Dewa Dan Den Dumya Kandre Nudu Lana Mepa Yang Dabra Sobe Janju Rinpoche Dobra Jo Tongwa Jepe Ga Nova Jepe Ge Tarpada Tam Je Gembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Je Gizu Jepe Mana Kadang Yampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dan Den Dumya Dan Je Nudu Lana Mepaya Dambra Zobe Chanju Rinpoche Dombra Je Sama Geki Bardu Lunga Yisum Gewala Go Maji Bardu Lunga Yisum Gewala Go Du Dirine Suntene Ma Santa Samgi Bardu Lunga Yisum Gewala Go Jodan Soge Jonamla Chanchu Bardu Dani Kamsu Ju Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonamki Jola Penche Sanje Drupra Ju Sanje Jodan Soge Jonamla Chanchu Bardu Dani Kamsu Ju Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonamki Jola Penche Sanje Drupra Ju Sanje Jodan Soge Jonamla Chanchu Bardu Dani Kamsu Ju Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonamki Rola Penchir Sanje Dubra Ishu Kadang Yampe Senchen Tamche Dewa Dang Dewa Gindan Dembra Gyuju Dunya Dang Dunya Gi Gyudan Dewa Gyuju Dunya Mepe Dewa Dang Me Dewa Gyuju Nirin Chada Nidang Dewa Dang Yang La Nebra Gyuju Kadang Yampe Senchen Tamche Dewa Dang Dewe Gindan Dembra Gyuju Dunya Dang Dunya Gi Kyudang Dewa Gyuju Dunya Mepe Dewa Dame Dewa Gyuju Nirin Chada Nidang Dewa Dang Yang La Nebra Gyuju Kadang Yampe Senchen Tamche Dewa Dang Dewe Gindan Dembra Gyuju Dunya Dang Dunya Gi Kyudang Dewa Gyuju Dunya Mepe Dewa Dame Dewa Gyuju Nirin Chada Nidang Dewa Dang Yang La Nebra Gyuju In all the worlds of the 10 directions reside Tathagatas of the 3 times. Before each of you, lions among humans, I prostrate joyfully with body, speech, and mind. By the power of this aspiration to noble deeds, all conquerors appear vividly in my mind. With as many bodies as there are atoms in all lands, I prostrate to all you conquerors. In each atom are Buddhas numberless as atoms, all in the midst of the heirs of the Buddhas. Thus I conceive of this Dharma Dhatu as completely filled with you conquerors in this way, with infinite oceans of praise and oceans of diverse melodies. I sing the excellent qualities of all you conquerors and praise all of you gone to bliss. With the best flowers and best garlands, best music, ointments, and excellent parasols, finest lamps and superior incense I offer to you conquerors. With excellent garments and best fragrances and sandalwood powder, keep high as Mount Meru. All wondrous offerings perfectly arranged I offer to you conquerors. These vast and unequal offerings to each and every one of you conquerors with the power of conviction in noble deeds. I prostrate and offer to all you conquerors. all the harmful deeds that I have done with my body, speech, and mind, under the power of desire, hatred, and ignorance. I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in all the meritorious deeds of all conquerors in the 10 directions and the heirs of the Buddhas, solitary realizers, here still in training and beyond, and all wandering beings. You who are lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who have unobstructedly attained Buddhahood through the stages of Bodhi. All you who are my protectors, please turn the unexcelled wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly beseech you who may intend to manifest final nirvana. Please remain for as many eons as there are atoms in the world for the happiness and well-being of all wandering beings. Whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete Bodhi. Ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon. I visualize as a Buddha land and offering. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To the Gurus who possess the three kayas, I offer the outer, inner, secret, and thusness offerings. With my body, wealth, and all phenomenal existence, please grant the unsurpassed supreme attainment. Whatever slight virtue I may have gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate it all to complete Bodhi. Om Guru Deva Dhaki Nirana Mandala Pati Cha Soham. Please turn the wheel of Dharma of the greater, lesser, and common vehicles in accordance with the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings. Good morning and good evening to all of you. We will continue, and for the next few verses, I am going to look at Khenpo Kumbel's commentary again. Just to give everyone a taste of how some of these commentaries read, how they are done, and it's very helpful in these few the commentary for these few verses, because here Khenpo Kumbel doesn't go into like what other people think, or overly kind of like complex arguments that may be of interest, to scholars, scholastics, but probably not very understandable by the rest of us. But the thing is, like in this section, he doesn't do that. Now, if you recall, I said that in this section, Kimbu Kumpel divides this analysis or examination of the status of feelings into the part on examination of the nature of feelings, then examination or analyzing the cause of the feelings. And we covered those two the last couple of classes. Then he goes on to scrutinize, analyze the result of these feelings, and then the subject. Who is it? Is there anyone that is ultimately real, that is having these feelings? The subject. Shantideva's arguments or presentation in this section assumes that you have a basic understanding of this chain of cause and effect, you could say, which is also called the 12 links of dependent origination. So in these 12 links of dependent origination, the link or the necessary condition for feeling Vedana to arise is contact. So contact. So then contact arising, meaning, right? What's here, you, or what you think is you, making contact with whatever it is that is being experienced. So when contact takes place, then feeling arises. So in this section we covered last class, he undermines, he challenges us to look deeper and say, as for the cause of feelings, the immediate cause of feelings is contact, according to this 12 links of dependent origination that the Buddha taught. for sure. He says, now, although generally, yes, Buddha gave that 12 links of dependent origination for us to see, right, the interdependent nature of experiences, how this is experienced because this is present, and this is present because this is present, and this is present because this is present. And so one by one, all these kind of cause and effects, right? So here Shantideva is having us look deeper into this, right? And say, while generally contact is said to be the cause of feelings, when you actually look for how contact takes place, you see that no meaningful contact can be proven, can be established. And therefore, lacking in contact, lacking in the cause for the arising of feelings, how can feelings truly exist? So the point here is, if feelings exist, they don't exist in a way that is such a big deal. And that's like the take-home lesson of verse 97. And nowhere does, throughout this chapter and throughout this text, the Shantideva simply say, everything is unreal. Nothing is true. End of story. No. It's actually, everything is unreal, as in not real enough for us to get stuck. And to the degree that we get stuck by our fixation on that which is not that real in the first place. So elsewhere in this famous text called the 37 Practices of Bodhisattvas, it says that all the wonderful good things that we experience, know that it's like experiencing beautiful rainbows. And all the terrible things that we experience in life, all the disappointing things, know that this is like experiencing the loss of a child in a dream. So as I have said in the past, I think these metaphors of rainbows and dreams, maybe we have over talked up, overemphasized rainbows and dreams. Then some people, oh, rainbow is something magical, mystical. Dreams, oh, dreams can tell you this, can tell you that. Oh, you should analyze your dreams. So sometimes we get carried away by those metaphors. So the modern metaphor that I think works very nicely, analogy, is it's like movies. It's like TV. It's like movies. So everything that we experience, both attractive and disappointing, they're like movies. Uh, Movies, you go watch a movie. So if you go watch a movie, you know you're watching a movie. And a very powerful movie will still, a very well done movie, will still, right, draw out emotional responses from you, a whole range of emotional responses. And you experience those emotional responses. But by and large, once the movie is over and you get out of the theater or you walk away from your TV screen, you don't, those feelings don't linger for too long. Unless it's really, really, really good or it reminds me of yourself. But even that, those feelings don't linger long. Those bad guys you see in the movies, you don't live the next few days, feeling all upset and wanting to get rid of them, not understanding why they're torturing your the character you identify with. And neither do you, like dwell on too much all the good characters that you like in the movie. So if we can understand all our experiences along this line, then we don't get stuck, we don't get fixated. Therefore, verse 97, Shantideva say, if therefore there is no touch or contact, from where does feeling arise? What purpose is there then in all our toil? For what is it indeed that torments what? So here Khenpo Kumbel, it says, therefore, if there's no contact acting as cause, from where do feelings result? Feelings themselves have no existence on the ultimate level, and if that is so, what sense is there in exhausting ourselves in demanding pleasure and turning away from pain? He says, the pleasure that people desire and work for are non-existent. So whenever, something like that is said non-existent, you should understand that it means non, they are not truly existent. So non-existent, in Buddhist talk, doesn't mean absolutely don't exist in any way, shape, or form. Just not truly existence. And therefore, the pleasures that people desire and work for, they are not truly existent. It is the same with suffering. Therefore, what suffering is tormenting whom? It is just the delusion of the mind. And the mind itself is illusory. I'm reading from Khenpo Kumbel. The next is analyzing the result of feelings. And this only one verse, verse 98. So 98 says, since there is no subject for sensation, and sensation too lacks all existence. So here sensation is what I translated as feeling. Yeah? Since there's no subject, let's put it that. Since there's no subject for sensation and sensation too lacks all existence, how is craving not arrested? How is craving not stopped when all this is clearly understood? So here Khenpo Kumpel says, if craving arises constantly in all sentient beings, how could feeling, which is its cause, be non-existent? So rhetorically, he raises this question. So this line, means he's working with us. He says, yes, I know, so you can imagine, especially, these young monks in front of him, with Shantideva's audience, with Khenpo Kumpel teaching these monks. He says, if you don't you feel like craving is constantly arising? So how could Shantideva say feeling is non-existent? I feel the craving. So if I feel the craving, then this feeling, surely it must be real. Having raised this question, Khenpo Kumpel answers this rhetorical question with, the answer is that craving too is no more than a delusion. It is not real. So craving itself, is also not real. So then he says, the mind, that which feels, right? That which is having this feeling, namely the mind, or you could also say the self, as ordinarily we would say, and that which it experiences, namely the feeling. So whether the feeling is pleasurable, painful, or neutral, neither of these two things, these are like the two requisite, right, elements for an experience, right? That something doing the experience, that which is experienced. Neither of these have inherent existence at all. Neither of these exist in and of themselves. Khenpo Kumpel brings up craving because craving is the next link in this 12 links of dependent origination. From feeling arises tanha, in Pali, craving or thirst. So for craving to arise, feeling has to be present. Without feeling of pleasure, craving would not arise. But now, what Shantideva is doing is also, or Khenpo Kumpel rather, taking Shantideva's lines, is helping us see the dependent nature of all these. To say that things are not real, again, in the Madhyamaka tradition, to say that things are not real, another way to say that is to state it as things rely on each other. Things arise interdependently. Then he continues, when it is realized that that which feels and that which is felt are both without true existence, how could the result of feeling, namely craving, not be averted, since its cause is removed? So he is basically saying, when you stop believing, stop thinking, stop concretizing, solidifying this experience that is merely temporary, merely dependently arising. When you can do that, then craving has no power over you. So by using one segment of this 12 links of dependent origination, right? Looking at feeling, and then what precedes feeling? Contact. So in the section before, contact cannot be truly existent. So then the result of contact feeling also cannot be truly existent. Then going forward from feeling normally in the 12 links, the next one that turns up is craving. But then since the feeling cannot be truly existent, therefore the consequences, which is craving, also cannot be that real. So with this, the examination of the consequence or the result of feelings is also shown to be dependently arising, lacking inherent existence, do not exist by its own power. And once we understand
that it doesn't exist by its own power, then it loses its power. Maybe not immediately, frankly, but once you allow that, to kind of lodge itself inside your fixation, as tight as your fixation is right now, once you inoculate, so to say, with this little bit of doubt as to how solid it is, then it will begin the process of falling apart. The next three verses fall under the examination of the feeling subject. So here is the section where it's equivalent to the Chan, the Chinese Chan or Japanese Zen tradition, raising the question of the Gong'an, the Huatou. Huatou means like kind of the critical phrase of analysis, which is, who is it? What is it? So who is it that is circling in samsara? What is it that achieves nirvana, right? Who is it? What is it? So now questioning the feeling subject. Also in Mahamudra, we also have very similar types of meditation and questioning, which is similar in raising this question of, where did the mind come from? Where is it now? And then where has it gone? Where has this feeling come from? Where is it staying now? And when it's gone, where has it gone? So such types of questioning is in these next three verses. It's similar. So 99 to 101. Let's read that now. What we see and what we touch is stuff of dreams and mirages. If feeling is coincident with consciousness, it follows that it is not seen thereby. If the one arises first, the other after, memory occurs and not direct sensation. Sensation is without perception of itself, and likewise by another, it is not perceived. The agent of sensation has no real existence. Thus, sensation likewise has no being. What damage, therefore, can sensation do to it, this aggregate deprived of self? So sensation here, it's talking about Vedana, feelings. So Kempo Kumpel, he says, if both the feelings and the one who feels do not exist, which he already introduced this in the discussion for the verse before, the mind and what the mind feels, both do not exist independent of each other. So if both feelings and the one who feels do not exist, how is it possible to admit such perceptions as sight and hearing? So extend it further to not just feeling, but beyond that to the act of seeing, the act of hearing. Okay? So again, he raises kind of this rhetorical question. And then Kemo Kumpel clarifies and says that even though here Shantideva only mentions sight and touch, basically he says the whole range of our sense experiences is included here. He says none of them has true existence. They appear like dreams and mirages. They are simply based on our unexamined designations, our unexamined projections. Projections arising from a confused mind is what they are. That they exist only as mere appearances, without any true existence. And then he continues, he says, the question could be asked whether feeling and the conscious experiencer of that feeling, do they exist simultaneously or not? says, now, if we say that they exist at the same time, then this is the problem. If distinct entities occur exactly the same time, without one preceding the other, they must both be completely independent of each other. Now, backing up a little bit, why he says that they cannot exist, right? Both at the same time. There it has to do with if both exist in the same moment, they have to become the same thing, because in any given moment, now he's talking to his fellow Buddhists, and we accept that in any given moment, only one phenomena present. So in that one moment, if these two things exist, then it cancels each other out. So the experiencer and that which is experienced cannot exist together. As in, cannot exist as one thing. Together, it will be one thing. And if it is one thing, then it makes no sense to say this thing is experiencing that thing. So earlier, basically, he has already, this kind of argument we have already seen. Are they one thing? Of course, then you say, well, of course, they're not one thing. We already use the pronoun they. But the end of this section, he's saying, now, if there are two things, then we have a problem of how do they connect. Again, earlier already experienced it. Already he used this argument, that space, right? Is there space or not between the perceiver and the perceived? He says, if there is space, then we have a problem. verse 100, he goes into more details about what if they are not simultaneous. So what is the problem there? I think the simultaneous one may be, at least I don't ordinarily think of it as simultaneous. I will think more like, first this and then that, like, for example, simplistically, you will say, oh, well, first there's me, and then there's me that is experiencing of whatever there's there. So kind of not simultaneous. So here, Khenpo Kumbel say, but what if they are not simultaneous, but rather the feeling comes first and consciousness later? Meaning, what if the mind assumes the aspect of the feeling and is thus able to experience this feeling? He says, if a feeling precedes, if a feeling comes first, and the consciousness of that feeling follows, right? So you have the feeling, then that which is conscious of that feeling comes afterwards. It must be admitted that when consciousness arises, that feeling is no longer present. So at best, what is it? It's a recollection. At best, it's just a memory. So Khenpo Kumbel continues, he says, now all thoughts of things past are merely memories. And what is past does not exist in the present moment and cannot now be really and clearly experienced. And then he says, feeling thus becomes impossible. Again, he's not saying, like, oh, impossible for you to have feelings. I mean, we have those sensations or sensations of pleasurable, painful, neutral. Here, when he says feeling thus becomes impossible, again, he's saying feeling as something that exists in and of itself, that is not dependent on conditions, a self-existing feeling, that is not possible. Here already, in various places, he already shows that it's impossible. Here he's showing it via looking at the mechanics of life. There is for example, there is a pleasurable feeling, there's a painful feeling. So it's there first. Then you become aware of it. That's the consciousness, right? Then normally we say, oh yeah, see, I felt the pain, I felt the pleasure. It's like, no. At best, you felt a memory of that experience. That moment of experience is already past, gone. But what you accumulate now is memories. He continues, he says, if we examine the memory of something in the past, we find something that is deceptive. For what is past no longer abides as an object in the present. This one, for what is this one? If we examine this line, the memory of something in the past, we find something that is deceptive. This line, recently I was listening to BBC International. Often has these little kind of clips on all kinds of topics, and one of the topics I remember hearing recently is on memory, and how prone to false memories we all are. That even calling into question, right, these court cases where people come and testify. I mean, forget about someone lying, like purposefully lying, or even someone manipulating them to tell that which is not true. But yourself, without even those factors at play, your memory of what happened is filled with subjective feelings and information and all sorts of things that comes afterwards, that begins to create not what happened necessarily. It creates and forms your memory of what happened. Your memory of what happened isn't what happened. At best, it's a memory. And your memories, are affected by so many factors. So even like this, in modern psychology, when they look into that, it actually is terrifying. And then when we live in a society, right, where we have known and unknown prejudice against people who look a certain way or don't look a certain way, who speak a certain way and don't speak a certain way, who dress a certain way and don't dress a certain way. We have so many of these prejudices, that if you happen, to be in the minority of that, people's false memories can so negatively impact you. It's a little terrifying. Continuing, Khenpo Kumpel, the consciousness of the past moment, the subject when the feeling has been experienced, is now no more. It can no longer experience anything. Therefore, past feeling, which is essentially all feelings, can only be experienced as a memory. There's no present feeling, because that present feeling is not never possible. Future feeling is even more impossible. So they all exist only by designation, as a concept. Then finally, Khenpo Kumpel says, neither can it be right to say that feeling is self-feeling, since it is contradictory to say that a sensation acts on itself. Then Shantideva's verse 101 says, the agent of sensation has no real existence. That which has the sensation has no real existence. Thus, sensation likewise has no being, doesn't exist on itself. Sensation, feeling. What damage, therefore, can sensation do to it, this aggregate deprived of self? So this is verse 108. So Khenpo Kumbel elaborates, he says, that which experiences the feelings, the agent of sensation, has no true existence. Thus, such feelings are devoid of intrinsic reality as well. And this is the most important. He gets to the main point of Shantideva, which is how then can this agent of experience, so this agent of experience, the experiencer, you could say, right? It's not that it doesn't exist completely. Obviously, you and I say, well, no, I experience, right? But this agent, right, in fact, is very fragile, very temporary. It is selfless, it is like a mirage, or it is like dream vision. And it is composed at best of a collection of aggregates. Right? Given how temporary, given how composite, given how fragile, right? This mirage is, this so-called agent of experience is, then how can an equally ephemeral, temporary moment of feeling, even when we call it suffering, we label it suffering, how can this actually touch the fragile, temporary, illusory feeler? Not possible. And therefore, this feeler, this so-called subject that feels, this feeler, can neither be helped nor harmed in reality. Now, all of this, in a way, I think, can be kind of simply summarized by this phrase that I've used in the past, which is with regards to all experiences that arise, with regards to our memories, with regards to our hopes about the future, all of that. If we can increasingly, more deeply train with the understanding of not me, not mine. This is not me, this is not mine. Subject, object, neither. Not me, not mine. Not me, not mine. The more we can habituate this, not me, not mine, then suffering cannot harm us. It's just merely there. So when a feeling or a sensation of that is painful turns up, right? when we meet with it. If we don't have aversion towards it, and therefore become fixated with wanting to get rid of it, then there's no problem. Likewise, when a pleasurable moment of feeling arises, and then desire turns up, quickly following that, right? If you don't seek to, if we are no longer so programmed, so habituated to every moment a desire turns up, you say, oh, got to get busy, got to fulfill it, you know. If you don't do that, then the desire has no power over you. It will die on its own. Yeah, this is now 107. 107, 101. Yeah. So let's take a quick break, and then we will do a little bit more, not much more. Let's take a quick break right now.
Om Wage Jare Mum Wage Jare Mum 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 Om Wage Jare Mum Wage Jare Om Wage Jware Mum Wage Jware 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 Om Wage Jware Mum Wage Jware
The next window, right? Those four windows, yeah, is the window of thoughts, minds. Yeah. And here, again, important. Don't think of mind, as a thing, but rather, as the Buddha has mentioned many times and demonstrated and shown many times, mind is simply a label that we put on this continuous process of mental and emotional moments arising one after another. So that we call mind. So now, from verse 102 to 105, Shantideva is going to show us how, when we look at this particular window, once again, we will come to the conclusion. We will be led to see how even this area you cannot find any inherent existence. You cannot find anything that exists in and of itself. Oh, waiting, we cannot hear you. Not only no mind, also no sound. Before saying more about the specific verses here, in all these, in this whole section, where the four, what is normally translated as the four foundations of mindfulness, the four areas of our experience that the Buddha said we should look at more closely in order to build up insight, build up understanding about the nature of self, the nature of phenomena. These four, so this whole section, right? Of course, when we're studying it right now, we are kind of thinking about it, we're looking at the logic, we're looking at the arguments, but really, this whole section can be done as a lifelong practice, and even if not lifelong, like you could take a month, right? To kind of just keep reading and rereading this whole section. But read it not in a way that you're trying to like force the understanding to arise. You read it like you just let it perfume your mind, as they say, without force, without pushing, without necessarily Googling terms, look up, without even like re-listening to what I'm saying here, just kind of read, and to whatever degree you can understand the words in each of these sections, you let those words kind of go deeper into your heart. The important thing is not trying to like understand all the ins and outs of every section. The important thing is whatever can go into you and change your mind. Change your mind, change your heart, so that, change your mind, your heart to what? To not fixating. Not grasping. Then we're actually benefiting from this section here. In 102, that verse, the mind does not dwell within the senses. It has no place in outer things like form, and in between, the mind does not abide either. Not out, not in, nor elsewhere can the mind be found. Yesterday, in a different class, a very short presentation of the white umbrella Dharani, Siddharthapatram Dharani, I mentioned that one of the places that this Dharani turns up is in the sutra known as the Shurangama Sutra. So in the Shurangama Sutra, it actually takes you through 102 in a more detailed manner, which is the Buddha kind of leading Ananda to see how the mind is an inside, is an outside, is an in-between. And so there it's called the non-existence of the mind in 7 locations. I don't remember already how the 7 locations, 7 possible places where mind could be is systematically kind of refuted. So almost like you could say, if the mind exists, it would exist in one of these places. So then the Buddha took Ananda through. Let's go see if the mind is here. Let's go see if the mind is here. Let's go see if the mind is here. Here, 102 is only 3 places: inside, outside, in between. In the middle, right at the door, you could say. Right? Inside would be like inside this, wherever inside this means. Right? Outside would be external to your body, mind. Middle would be right at the door, and whatever that means. Shantideva says, when you go looking for this mind, you cannot find either in here, out there, or in between. Well, line 1 and 2 of verse 103 belongs to that section of like asking, where is this mind? Can it be found? So 103, first 2 lines, it says, it is not in the body. So the mind is not in the body, but yet it also cannot be somewhere else that is not associated with this body. But it does not merge with this body nor stand apart from it. Then the last two lines of 103, again, that is sort of like we come to again, like the main point, the take-home lesson. Something such as this mind, the way we now kind of foolishly think of it, right, does not exist, not even in the slightest way. And then the next line, the final line of 103, beings by their nature are beyond the reach of suffering. That is an ultimate truth statement. The more you habituate, not me, not mine, the lesser and lesser does suffering have a place to land. Whenever you identify, this is me, this is mine, you have provided more landing space for suffering. Then pretty soon you will be, without even realizing what has happened, you will turn into Atlanta airport, the busiest airport on earth. Where suffering will be landing and taking off, continuously. Yeah, so today we're going to stop here. Then a reminder, we will meet this Saturday. Then next Tuesday, a week from today, is Sagadhawa Duchen, the full moon of Saga month. And so we're very fortunate that Kinjin Rinpoche is going to come on Zoom and give the Bodhicitta, the formal ceremony of generating Bodhicitta. So then we will also share this daily practice text, as in regular, let's say regular. I say daily, then people panic, say, oh, I don't know if I can do it. This regular practice text that the head of Dugong Kagyu and Dugong Gyabgan arranged. So we will share that particular text, which is the basis of Rinpoche's giving of the Bodhicitta vow. So during that next Tuesday, we will have simultaneous translation. Right now, Spanish, Chinese as usual. And we are also opening this to other people beyond this class to join us if they choose to. And so there might be one or two other languages also happening as well. If you plan to join, to participate, it's very good if you put your intention into it. Don't just treat it like another class, 2 minutes before you turn on your computer, then while waiting, you're surfing the computer to see what's going on Facebook, We only get as much as what we put in. So be intentional about this. Like I say, if you maintain a shrine, put fresh offerings on the shrine. See if you can put, like your computer, on the shrine, and then, then you can sit in front of your shrine, whatever is possible. Pre-choose, what you're going to wear, treat it with, some intention. And then between now and then, if you can reread the root verses of Bodhicharyavatara, chapter 1, 2, and 3, that is all very helpful. Including, Omar just shared the registration page. So all you have to do is go there at the bottom of that page, and you enter your email. And in that way you have registered. Then when we have the text, we will send an email with an information or attachment how to download the text that we will be using. Not just on the ceremony itself, but you can use later for your regular practice of enhancing, strengthening this bodhicitta. Then the other preparation, like I said, is try to set aside that time so that you can turn on your video. You want to Rinpoche to be able to see you too. Not only you, seeing Rinpoche. It's strange, we've gone into Zoom land, where we're just lurking. But when we are seen, in some ways, we are held accountable. So especially when taking vows, that's the whole point, right? To be held accountable. So you want to be seen as well. In case you didn't know, so some of you might be like, I don't want to, yeah, but I don't want to see myself, If you go to like your view, look for your image that you can see right now. To the right corner there, there's like, if you hover your mouse over there, the right corner, top corner, right top corner, you'll see three dots. If you click there, then you get to choose. And there is one thing that says hide self view. You can click hide self view, then you don't have to look at yourself. And it is a little weird, right? I mean, in other interactions, when you interact with people, you don't keep looking at yourself. But Zoom gives you that ability to keep looking at yourself. That's a little distracting. But if you take Shantideva's teachings to heart, then you will know even that is not self. Then it doesn't become distracting anymore. But until you can get to that level, Zoom does give you the ability to, literally it says in English here, hide self-view. Changchu Sem Chorim Poche Ma Ge Ba Nam Ge Gu Che Ge Ba Nyam Ba Me Ba Gong Ne Gong Du Be War Sure. Bye bye. Ta ta.